Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical, your source for Second Amendment news, gun reviews, and more. Today I've got something pretty cool for you guys. This is the Accucraft sight pusher tool, and this thing is a beast. And it's a pretty sweet tool. So I am one of those home gunsmiths. I do all my own work on all my own guns, all my upgrades, modifications, repairs, all of that kind of stuff. And basically self-taught through things like YouTube. And so that's why I do videos like this. When I changed the trigger out on my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, the striker safety plunger, you actually have to, it's underneath the rear sight here. And so I had to move the rear sight out in order to access that, to change it out to the Apex safety plunger, which is a huge part of why this trigger ends up being so smooth. The way I did that was with a hammer and a punch. And in fact, it wasn't even this hammer. It was a real metal claw hammer because that's what I had at the time. And I basically put that slide in a vise and I hammered the hell out of it until I could get that sight to start moving. And I was able to do it that way. But I very easily could have damaged my slide or my rear sight. And there is something to be said for using the correct tools for the job. And so, this Glock 19X here, I'm going to show you today how to push the sights out the right way. And the cool thing about this Accucraft sight pusher, it works for all kinds of pistol sights, not just Glock sights. But all my other pistols have optics on them, so I figured this was a good one to use as an example. Now, I am not changing the sights out on this Glock today. I actually like the sights that come on the 19X, but it will work very well for showing you how this thing works. So make sure to stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed to Sawtooth Tactical, and let's do this. So we're going to take our 19X here, remove the slide from the gun, and in fact, I'm even going to take out the barrel and recoil assembly, just because. I'm going to use a pencil to mark where the sights are now, because I don't actually plan to replace these today. I like these sights, like I said, and they are zeroed from the factory, and they work well. And then I'm going to use some blue painter's maskers tape on the side of this, masking tape, excuse me, so that the slide doesn't get scratched or damaged. And then we'll go up close and I'll show you how this works. So the first thing we're going to do is unscrew these knobs, and that will let us pull the top part of the assembly off here. Which will allow us to put our slide in the Accucraft sight pusher. So with those loose, we will pull this off. So now we're going to take our slide, which we put masking tape on to protect the finish, and we're going to put it in here. First, you want to unscrew all these knobs, and whichever direction you're going to push the sights is, you want it up against that side. So say we're going to push the rear side out that way. We'll push it up against this side, and then we'll take these and tighten them up against the slide. It does have like lines down the bottom, so you can make sure that you're all lined up correctly and straight. But we also want to make sure that our sight is where this pusher is. So we're actually going to move it back just a little bit and get that lined up correctly. There we go, that looks good. I'm going to tighten these down. So the top part of the assembly here, this is a height adjustment. So you're going to take it, set it down on here, and then adjust it down until, see if we can show this better, until you get it right where it needs to be. Now we're going to move this over a little so that it can actually stop where my rear sight is. And there we are. And you can also see on this will work with sights that are either flat or angled ones, which actually these are angled. But since I'm not actually removing the sight today, this will work fine for this demonstration. So once we have the sight, or the height, and everything adjusted correctly, we are going to tighten down all our knobs here, make sure our slide is perfectly straight in there. I'm going to put these back on, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So you can see now where this is with your dovetailed sight there, and it is just about ready to push. So once you have that all adjusted, between your height adjustment and these knobs, you just basically want to use your hand tight, and you get your height exactly where it needs to be. You have your slide in there adjusted exactly how it needs to be. Everything is tight, good to go. And then literally you can see when I turn this that the sight pusher moves horizontally, and you can push your dovetailed sights out, push new ones in. You can adjust them if your windage isn't correctly. It makes moving your sights in and out extremely easily. And this will work for any dovetailed sights. Again, like I said, if I was going to take this side out right now, I actually would use this side, which is angled for angled sights. But it'll work for 1911 slides. It'll work for just about any pistol with dovetailed sights. This front sight, not dovetailed, it wouldn't work on that. But let's see, it would work just fine on these dagger sights if I wanted to change these out. Again, not the front sight, but this rear sight. It would have worked great for my M&P had I had it then. Would have made that job much easier than it was. And again, 1911 sights that are dovetailed like this, both the front and the rear sight are dovetailed on this one. Same thing with the 2011 here, the Springfield Prodigy. This sight pusher will work for any of those. So this is a very, very helpful tool to have in your toolbox if you work on guns all the time like I do. When you're all done, same thing as before, loosen these up. This thing is very, very high quality. It's anodized aluminum and steel. That comes off. Loosen these. Side pusher screws. Pull your slide out, and your sights are done. And believe me when I say it was frustrating as all hell to do this with a hammer and a punch. This rear dovetail was very, very tight. And so I'm very happy that I've got this thing now. It's going to make any future sight adjustments, or if I got to remove them and replace them with different sights for any pistols that I have in the future, this thing is going to be very valuable. Let's take the tape back off of this. And we've got our slide here. If I can get the tape off my hand. Put my whole gun back together. For some reason, everything is more difficult behind the camera than it is not behind the camera. Recoil assembly. And our Glock 19X is back in business. So now that you guys know how to use the Accucraft sight pusher tool, it really, really makes things easy when it comes to removing, replacing, repairing, whatever you got to do with dovetail sights. Like I said, if I had had this when I was doing the apex trigger on my M&P, and you wouldn't think that you need to remove a sight to do a trigger job, but because of where the striker block plunger is in the M&P, which is underneath that rear sight, I had to remove it. And banging the hell out of it with a hammer and a punch was frustrating, to say the least. It took a lot of very hard whacks to even get it to start moving. And I had to do it multiple times because if you remember, if you've been following the channel for a while, when I sent this slide off to get milled for a red dot, the Postal Service actually lost it. And so I ended up having to buy a new slide, sending that off, get it milled, Cerakote, mount my red dot, and then I had to bang the rear sight out again because I'd put that apex trigger in. I wanted that smooth trigger pull. And so I had to get another apex safety plunger and do the whole thing again. And man, that sure would have been easy if I had had this. You know, I've always been a firm believer in having the right tools for the job. And no matter what job that is, you know, for most of my life, I've done different kinds of work with my hands. And, you know, if you have the correct tools, the job is generally easy and it's easy to do it right. And if you don't have the correct tools, sometimes you can still get it done, but it's going to be a lot more difficult, a lot more frustrating. There's going to be blood, sweat, and tears involved. And if you can avoid all that, you might as well. So I'm going to put a link to this product in the description. I highly recommend it. I think this thing's fantastic. Super high quality, very durable. I'm going to be using this thing for the rest of my life every time that I need to push out a sight on a pistol. Now this was sent to me for free to do a video, to do a review, and so just so that you guys are aware. But again, that doesn't really change the way I feel about something. I've had other things sent to me for free, and I've been 100% honest about them. This is a very high quality piece of hardware, so I have no problem recommending it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Please share this video with anyone you know that might need to push out some sights. And subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. I'm going to have a link down below if you want to purchase this. And I'm also going to have a link to my Patreon. And I've been having a very hard time getting people to join Patreon, so please do. If I get 50 people to join Patreon, I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to have a couple of different things that you can choose. I will announce that in another video, but one of the options is going to be a weapon-mounted light, one for like a rifle platform. One of them is going to be a light and holster system for the SIG P365. Trying to figure out what else might be good for a giveaway, because I want to make sure it's something that's useful to whoever wins it, whether they have a SIG P365 or an AR, something that will work for that weapon-mounted light. But make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical, hit that notification bell, and from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.